Hello, good morning to this panel in which we will discuss about human-centric IoT. In fact, there is the term human-centric or human-centric IoT and the concept of a smart society. With us, we have three panelists. The first one is Elisabeth Margarit from Fujitsu, on my left. And he is in his area is about, he works with sustainability in Fujitsu. Then, he will have the vision from the Society 5.0 discourse. There is an initiative that was originated in 2016 by the Japanese government. So it's a Japanese company, and he will explain us a little bit after. Then we have with us Dave Lafferty. Dave Lafferty is the president of Scientific Technical Services. It's a consultancy firm and related with the oil and gas industry and what we can say the traditional industry, or the wall of the industry. And finally, with us, we have Marianne Frydenlund from Avanci. He is vice president of Avanci IoT. Avanci IoT is a company that manages intellectual property services, and she will explain what they do. And so we will see the question of the human-centric from different perspectives, and we will talk about the different topics. So we are in an industry, in an IoT fair or conference, and the topic of the human-centric has emerged because the idea of the Society 5.0 is all the discourses are based on two pillars, sustainability and human centricity. So this initiative from Japanese government is inspired by the Industry 4.0 German initiative that was launched in 2013. So 3 years later was this Japanese initiative. And they are complementary. So Society 5.0 takes the technology from the Industry 4.0 discourse. The difference is that Industry 4.0 is addressed to the community of the people in the industry. And in Society 5.0 discourse, the message is, the idea is to consider the whole population. So it's a discourse over. And one of the phenomenon that is detected is there is some tension between part of the society and technology, because technology now are in the acceleration part of the curve in developing. And there are part of the society there is a threat. It's called this phenomenon social pain. And this is something that Society 5.0 want to address. So I want to start with Elisabeth. The Japanese initiative is launched by the Japanese government, and there is an association, Keidanren. Keidanren is a Japanese association, and they are pushing this initiative. And how do you see this initiative from Fujitsu? And in this board, there are all the Japanese companies, no? So there are Fujitsu, and there are Mitsubishi, there are Hitachi, and so on. How do you see this initiative from Fujitsu?
I think it's the future. I think that they have this purpose inside their vision. They have their mission. For them, the technology is a way to do a more sustainable society. And what it means, sustainable society, it means that to be more human-centric. The technology to help humanity, to help people to be more wealthy, to be more well-being, to help in order to be less dangerous for the environment, to be more positive, to bring to the society more than we take. So I think that technology should help, and they will help. They will help in order to achieve this purpose. This is really the next step from Industry 4.0. This is the next step, but we are going there. Japan is, as you know, a high-level society. It's very advanced, not only in technology, but also in seeing how the society should go ahead. A person is in the center, the human is in the center, and how technology, and when I talk about technology, I talk about AI, I talk about IoT, I talk about digital twin, I talk about quite a lot of different technologies, helps the human to be more well-being and the environment to be more healthy at the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
When we talk about human-centric IoT, one of the first, in the academia, the first works is about 2009. And from Hitachi was the first company that used the word human-centric IoT. And then the idea of a collaborative way of using this technology between people. But there is a question that I want to address to Dave about when we talk, it's very nice to talk about knowledge sovereignty from individuals and the idea of make things in innovative and collaborative way. But when there is an idea that have to scale, what happened with escalation? When we talk about when we talk about systems that can be connect each other, it's not the same to talk about 5, 10 devices, I mean, if we talk about thousands of devices. So, what is your perspective from the industry, which is the reality that we have to explain to people?
So I'm very active with startups trying to get in the clean tech world, getting them to go from the sort of initial concept stage to actually industrial scale. So that's something that I see on a daily basis. I think what is very important is that there's lots of good ideas of how to use technology to improve society, but if you do not scale it to a large scale, so for example, if you take a technology and it only is deployed within a neighborhood, the impact will be fairly small. But you need to deploy it over an entire city or an entire region or an entire country to really get that kind of impact. And so while we start to look for these technologies that can improve society, what we really need to also ensure is that we have sort of, for example, security should be built in, not bolted on. I see many of these ideas fail because they didn't address the security issue. And so we have all the rights of, what do I have as far as people identification, for example, things like that. So you really want to make sure that it's there. The other thing is now that you've deployed all this technology at scale, it has to be kept up to date and have to go out to individually address each of those devices. So I centralize management of those devices, the software updates, security updates, all those kinds of things need to be addressed. So doing 5 devices in a lab is easy. Doing 5,000 devices on the North Slope of Alaska was hard. So so you really want to ensure that you're thinking scale even in the early stages of your project.
Okay, so we have a potential barrier that comes from the problem of scale when we are deploying IoT or technological systems. But there is another barrier that is coming from people. I want to ask first, Marianne, in your company, advanced company, what do you do exactly about licensing? Because licensing can be a nightmare. There are many projects that they find surprises, no? Because they think that they have the solution, the prototype is working, the investors are convinced, and then at the end emerges a surprise. There is a license barrier that nobody maybe considered. How is your approach on that?
Okay, yeah, I think I want to try to answer your question and then tie in what Elisabeth and Dave said about scaling and human-centric IoT. So in a human-centric society where everything is connected and kind of we live in a world where we live both digitally and physically and without barriers, without much barriers, and that will enable us to live a fuller life, you know, stay longer at home because we have remote monitoring of healthcare. We can just live a fuller life at home. And so all of the devices needs to be connected in a way with radio communication. If it's short range like Bluetooth, wide, mid-range like Wi-Fi, or long range like cellular. We have LoRa here as a great sponsor, and you've seen the massive LoRa network. So all things needs to be connected, and Dave, you're talking about scaling. So what Avanci does is to take away one of the barriers that is licensing of standard essential patents. We create a licensing platform for all the patent owners to come together and offer one simple, one-stop solution for the implementers that are making IoT devices with standardized technology, such as 4G and 5G. And then we create a level playing field by doing so in order for companies to scale and to be able to offer their products on a worldwide scale. We offer a worldwide license for these companies to sell, to have made their products everywhere in the world. So our license is very comprehensive, and when we're talking about licensing, of course, this is just one of the small hurdles. Engineering with radio communication for companies who have not done that before, that's a hurdle. But that's where the semiconductor industry comes in. My background is from Nordic Semiconductor, and they have these amazing development, dev zone, where they help the implementers over some of these hurdles. And you have carrier certification. So just taking away one of the hurdles, that is licensing of standard essential patents to 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, Wi-Fi, video codecs, and so on a global scale, so you can compete with everyone in the world. It's a worldwide license to these technologies.
So the idea is to have a unique interlocutor, the unique who you talk, that you offer as a platform of you have only one subscription, for instance, and then you have the right to access a very difficult combination of licenses. Is the idea? Right.
So Avanci was formed in 2016 after all of the major 4G standard essential patent owners were licensing bilaterally in the automotive industry. So this is an initiative that was formed from the vehicle manufacturers, actually, where they said there has to be some simpler way where we can license the 4G technology in a one-stop solution rather than licensing Ericsson's patents, and then I go to Nokia and then I license their patents, and then Huawei, ZTE. Unisoc, MediaTek. You know, there are so many patent owners who participated in the standard setting organization, and all of these standard essential patents needs to be licensed in a 4G connected car. So what we did was to say, okay, we're creating an open platform. It's optional, so you can still choose to license each licensor directly, but we created an alternative and an option to do a joint license where it's open for all the patent owners to participate on one side, and then BMW and Mercedes, Volkswagen, Toyota can take a license with these patent owners. So it's one agreement. It's a published rate, so every car manufacturer gets the same rate for 4G technology and now 5G technology in the car. Global license that covers everyone in their supply chain for manufacturing the car and the TCUs that are implemented in the car to get the connectivity. And that's how we help leveling out the playing field amongst the OEMs of different verticals. And then my role is to then expand that offer into other IoT verticals, such as smart metering, EV charging infrastructure, healthcare, smart cities, you name it.
So to close this block, would you agree in that we have different phases of technology, innovation, deployment? We are building a global infrastructure with many alternatives, high speed, low speed, high latency, low latency, many alternatives. Then there is a problem of scalability. So when you overcome this phase, then arises human-centric barriers. This is what happened. No? We have the possibility to change all the data we want, change information, communicate, video at high speed. And then the question is, you can see many conferences talking about how to monetize data. So at the end, the barriers come from the intellectual property. So do you agree with this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're just taking away one barrier in the development of going from an engineering standpoint to launching of an actual product. And I'm sure Dave can fill in and tell you and us about more hurdles that the small innovators and the small startup companies are facing with, you know, carrier certification, having a global network that will, you can roll out a product that will operate as smoothly in the Norwegian mountains as in Tokyo City. So that's other hurdles. And in the end, as you mentioned, human-centric problems. What's important for us?
So I'm optimistic, no? Because the first step is system-centric, and then the following step is human-centric. And many people are aware about, okay, automation and technology is ending in the system-centric because problems are solved. In which fields people will work? But then arises the human-centric. Well, we will be very busy in these topics in the future, so it will be a lot of work for everyone, no? Discussing not about system-centric problems, it's about human-centric, no? So, okay. Well, the thing is, I'm optimistic on that. Talking about the part of how do we expect from society? In Society 5.0, there is education, is something that is very important. This is something that is happening around the world, but particularly in countries like Japan and well, in general, also in Korea and also in China, they are introducing computational thinking at schools at early ages. This is something that is happening today. You know, in Spain, just since the last year, is in the education curricula, computational thinking. The different countries are implementing more or less. No? And at the same time, the idea of make systems simpler to use. In Fujitsu, how is your approach about the message of making systems easier to use to people in the industry, at the same time, what is your position about in education also? No?
Yeah. In Fujitsu, we think that the technology should help society should help, and for us, society are companies and are people and are A&D. So at the end, everybody should improve on their capabilities. What happens with the technology? The technology should be safer. So at the end, it's not technology, it's not the technology as usual, it's a safer technology in order that children, our kids, could use the technology, could use the social network, could use their mobile, could use their computer in a safer way, in a safer mind, because they have to change their mindset and to understand which are the risks and which are the benefits of using the technology. And companies also. Companies should need to use the different technologies in order to be more efficient and to, and for us, be more efficient is perhaps, I don't know, doing the different scenarios in digital twin, not in a physical way. So we understand that physical and digital should join together. And these are for companies. The technology is critical. Technology should help them to be more efficient, to be more human-centric, to help the companies to help their employees in order to be to work easily, to work in a safer way, and also with all over the organization. Think that human-centric is not only for benefits. You told before that we are, when we talk about humanity, we talk about everybody. So at the end, of course, companies should have benefits, but they have to return to the society more than they take. And how they have to return it? By doing that, by giving to the society and helping that everybody in the society increase their level, their well-being, and helping to be more sustainable in a growth way. At the end, that Fujitsu has in their purpose helping the society to be more sustainable by innovation. So we have quite a lot of centers of A&D in order to increase and to investigate the different technologies that can help society. And when we talk about society, we talk about hospitals, we talk about government, we talk about industries, we talk about schools, we talk about education, in order that everybody can have education in a virtual way or in a mixed way. Companies should have this technology in order to produce in a better way, and at the end, all the society should have a more high-level way of living.
It's interesting because this approach, the approach of Society 5.0 is holistic. Is a view looking for harmony, this kind of concepts. And in fact, Industry 4.0 is more Western approach. So it's more oriented to measurable results, more scientific.
Yeah, but I think that Fujitsu asks us for results. So we
have
to do
but it's
results
of course. But it's a layer over that. It is not contradictory.
It's not contradictory. It's you can have benefits by helping the society to be more sustainable. Yeah.
Okay. And we talk about safety. And I would like to address a question to Dave about safety. In the industry, there is a phenomenon that emerged in the Industry 4.0 called the IT-OT convergence. So the IT guys and the OT guys, they have different perceptions of the reality, the risk and time. Just two examples. In the old OT world, if system works, what we have to do, don't touch it. But in the IT world, if a system, the question is, how much time don't you update the system? 1 month, it's very risky. You have to update continuously in order to guarantee security. No? But the question is how to combine these approaches, and then arises the question of a critical thinking. You know, so the question is when we talk about when we talk about human centricity in terms of safety, what is the red line of what is the red line that safety differentiates these 2 points of view?
Great question. That's been my life the whole time, because I deal with stuff that can go boom if you get it wrong and people get killed. So it's always been, paramount of no harm to people, no harm to the environment. It's been my keystone for 40 years now. So so maybe an example would be better. So there's a concept of using RFID tags to track industrial workers in an industrial site. And I helped get that initial technology going in the heavy metal environment, which is, there's a lot of technology around that made it, pretty difficult. But we got it working, but we had to balance the right of privacy with the right of safety. And so when I was deploying that system, I actually went to the workers and had them put the policies around it of when would we use it, when we would not use it. And especially in an offshore environment, you're working part of the time, but then you're off shift, but you don't leave that platform. So there's a private time and a company time. So we had to balance all that. But what they realized was we were ultimately putting that system in, so if there was an incident, that we could find you, we could account for you, that we made sure that everybody was safe. And so we had to balance the two there to make things more safe, but also make sure that the privacy issue was there. And we actually would post at the entrance of each of the plants the fact that we had this tracking technology in place, and that to be aware of all that. So that's an example of where you definitely have to balance the safety versus the another good example would be where we took the wireless instrumentation and we started to displace the manual rounds, where we went around and wrote down the actual readings on a clipboard. and these days that sounds pretty funny, but there was a lot of that, not that long ago. And what we realized, though, is that we still wanted the operators walking around, and even though they're not taking readings anymore because we now have the wireless sensors making those readings, we want them touching, smelling, feeling, observing around it. But now they've transformed themselves into a higher level concept than just being a note taker. So again, it's the concept of we're not displacing the worker, but we're moving that worker to a higher value role in the operation.
Okay, talking about the different perspective, IT, OT, but also in the IT world, there are two points of vision about open systems. So open source and proprietary systems and so on. So there are who thinks that open source is better for innovation, and that licensing as a concept is something that makes some difficulties to innovate, and there is the reverse, the idea that you need to manage IP property in order to push innovation. How your system or this the license management helps to push innovation?
Yeah, that's a good question. So our whole business model is based on the notion that innovators should be receiving a fair return on their investment. At the same time as the implementers of standardized technology should be able to take a license on what we call FRAND terms, fair, reasonable, and non-discriminatory. So, of course, the most important thing for us when we create these joint license solutions is really to find the compromise between the licensors, the patent owners, and the ones that are implementing the standardized technology to which they hold patents. So that's the real issue, where the expectations to get a fair return on billions of dollars in investment from each company has to be balanced by the uptake of the technology. If it's too expensive to implement 4G technology in an asset tracker, you won't use 4G technology in an asset tracker because the product becomes too expensive. So you need to align those interests, and then when you have that compromise between listening, and this is what we do, we listen to the patent owners, we go back and forth between the patent owners and the implementers and ask what is the right price range. And when we find that compromise that we believe can be widely accepted by a whole industry, then you have a joint license and an option to bilateral licensing. And that's where we can collect the licenses on the licensor's behalf through Avanci as a platform from the implementers, who have then agreed that, yes, this creates a level playing field for me because I pay the same as my competitors. I can then operate on a global scale, and the patent owners are receiving a fair return on their investment.
Okay, that's interesting. And now I would like to address a question for all of you about, we're talking about human-centric, about mindset. The question of the critical thinking. I only put an example. There are many people that are convinced, sometimes it's my case, that when you have the cell phone on the table, something is hearing on the other side, or someone or some machine, the fact you have a conversation of a topic, and then 30 seconds later, 1 minute later, there is an advertisement about the topic you was talking. So you think, well, maybe it's happening, no? And there are people that think that is something that it cannot be avoided, no? And it's a question of critical thinking. So what do you think about when the society is not prepared for technology? Maybe it should be interesting to have the mindset to ask for mechanisms, to at least warranty or mechanisms to check if the system is hearing or not, or to ask for, or to to be mandatory, have the possibility to switch off some functionalities, and then is a fake, it doesn't work, you can sue the company. So so what do you think about this? Do you think that is a lack of critical thinking on that, or should be something? What is your point of view from your world?
I mean, what you're touching on is trust, right? And I think there's a reason why the IoT Solutions World Congress and the Cybersecurity Congress, it's at the same place at the same time. in order for a human-centric society to exist and for everything to be connected, we need to trust that we as humans are protected and that they're safe to use. And so I think this is, critical thinking, but it's trusting in the devices that we use so that they become a part of our daily life and not something that we're fearing. Working together and living together and existing together with the devices rather than fearing that they will take over our jobs or our lives. I think we need to be smarter and like we were talking about the smart city, but we as humans need to be smarter. We need to utilize the technology to our advantage and not let the technology take over our lives. So we have the control to do that.
Okay. We must have the control. Okay, Dave, what is your thought about that?
I'm probably showing my age, but when I was in college, you used a slide rule, right? And along came Texas Instruments and the TI-59, and it could actually do a square root. Yeah. And there was a big controversy on whether my chemistry professor would allow calculators into the room because one of the things when you use a slide rule is you have to estimate the answer and then it sort of gets you to the decimal places, but is it 3 or is it 3,000, right? The slide rule won't tell you that, right? It's so you estimate in your head and then you calculate, and then with the calculator, if you just blindly use it and accept the trust that it's right, even though you keyed it in wrong, then it's like, no, that's not right. That the answer should be around 3, not 3,000, right? Mm-hmm. And so the tools today, we need to ensure that the way we deploy those tools in the educational environment is enhancing critical thinking. So if I get a chat, GPT, which ingests all sorts of garbage on the internet, and so some of the stuff's right, some of it's not right, that your critical thinking is, hey, that's not right. It should be 3, not 3,000. And so it isn't much different than it was 40, 50 years ago. So that we still have to have that critical thinking and sort of say, no, that news report sort of looks like a deep fake to me, kind of thing. So yeah, that's still a key, and if the student learns the critical thinking aspect of it as our tools evolve from slide rules to calculators to generative AI, the thought process is still the same.
But the method to achieve is well done. No? Is applying the ancient Greeks methods. No? Is starting with, we have to thank Aristotle with his contribution of logic, no? And he saved us from sophism. Now we are living in a massive sophism about what's true, what's not true, fake news, not fake news, but the method is well known. No? We as a humanity, we know have to face it. It's just apply that, no? And okay, and I would like a last question because maybe on time. What's 41? Oh. 5 minutes.
We have 20 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Okay, all right. I want to address a question to Elisabeth. You did a speech yesterday about sustainability. It's a project that you are following in Fujitsu. I don't know if you want to explain a little bit. It's related to convert CO2 to oxygen using algae. You can explain. And well, the question is, you as a technological company, you you offer the part of information technology in this kind of projects.
Yeah.
Okay. And how do you consider the citizen participation on that projects? If we are talking about the system with this algae system that you explained, okay? In which point it is? Is it a prototype? How you will explain to society?
Yeah, yeah. Well, Fujitsu is working with quite a lot of startups. This is a Catalan startup that works with the Finland government in E&D to use microalgae tanks and bacteria in order to capture CO2. The idea is that this kind of microalgae captures more than 50 times more than a tree. So at the end, the idea is not to of course, planting trees, but until a tree captures CO2, it spends 10 years in order to grow. So we work with this startup and to create these tanks of microalgae and bacteria and to capture the CO2 for industries, for cities, for different organizations. This is prototypes. We are doing some different pilots in the different organizations. And which is the role of Fujitsu? The role of Fujitsu is to guarantee the data that is behind all these prototyping or all this solution, because at the end, how much CO2 are you capturing, and how you guarantee the amount of tons of CO2 that you are taking. So with blockchain and AI, we are monitoring with IoT, of course, sensorizing all the system, identifying how GHG we are capturing, and then doing this carbon credit certification. At this point, if you are a company, you can compensate the carbon footprint that you are emitting to the world, or if you are a city council, you can reduce the pollution of your city. The idea is, well, every organization should reduce the amount of GHG that they are emitting to the world, but there is one point that they cannot reduce more. So which are the different solutions that the technology have in order that they capture this CO2? There are other solutions of the sequestration of CO2. The problem is, what do you do with this CO2 afterwards? So I prefer the capture of the CO2 in order that they disappear from the air. This is a quite new solution that we are developing in Spain. We are, as I said, we have some different pilots that we are doing and we want to, as they've said, scale it. So we are now starting with a few tanks, but we want to scale because we think, we are convinced that it's a quite good solution for the future and it's quite easy at the end because it's circular. That means microalgae, afterwards, what do you do with them? No? With this microalgae, you can go to do it biofuel, you can do hydrogen, or you can go do it to the field to like a bonus in the field. No? At the end, it's really a biological circular solution.
Yeah, it's an emerging field. There are other projects, and companies, but you mentioned you have implemented blockchain.
Yeah.
The idea is to guarantee transparency.
Yes.
And also it opened the door to make citizens even check if the system is...
Of course. What happens with the trees? That nobody can guarantee how many CO2 is capturing a tree. And if you have a tank with an closed or with an analysis, very close analysis of the tank, you can guarantee how many CO2 is capturing. At the end, you can show to the market, you can see how many CO2 are you capturing. And if you are zero carbon, you can sell it. You can sell this carbon footprint credit.
So this is a very human-centric because it's
Absolutely.
participation in order to
Absolutely.
have the warranty if the data is true. And also it offers the possibility to develop a market.
Yeah. Yeah, we have done a prototype for Barcelona City Council. The idea is to have the sensors that Barcelona has all over the city and to with the measurement of the pollution. At the end, how many tanks do you have to implement in the different buildings, because you can put the tank all over on the roof of the building, it's not in the street. And how many times do you have to implement where, in order to see how the pollution is reducing in different areas of Barcelona, because it's not the same in the mountain or in the center of Barcelona. No?
Okay, okay. We have 3 different topics, more or less ordered or disordered, I don't know. Before the turn of questions, do you want to add something about what we have?
No, I think you touched on a great thing, and that is one of the concepts that that I tell my clients about is how do you monetize your emissions management? And if you properly manage your operations, your Scope 1 emissions, now you can sell your product at a premium if you can prove that you're in fact properly managing it. So natural gas now can be sold at a premium if I use things like blockchain to certify that stream from molecule to molecule. And now the traders can sell that gas for a premium. So making a profit and being a good steward of the earth aren't necessarily in conflict. So I think the more opportunities that we have to reward, have people think about stewardship as a positive monetizing kind of event rather than how do I minimize getting caught is probably where the things like IoT really helps with sort of getting that visibility to fix the problems so we can then sell our product for a premium.
Yeah, and like this, you have quite a lot of examples for example, the energy optimization. If you monitorize all your buildings, all your industrial lines, all your factories, you can see where that energy is more expensive, you are expensive, you are taking more energy than that is necessary, and you can reduce quite a lot, I would say 40 or 50% the amount of energy that you are doing. And this is sensorizing, really, and monitorizing the data.
Yeah, yeah. Many of those projects are cash positive.
Yeah. Really.
Okay, we have 9 minutes left. If anyone of the room want to make a question. Okay, here, in the third row.
There's a microphone there.
And here comes the microphone.
Excuse me, the first question is here in the third row, and then the second, okay.
First thing, thank you all speakers about your words. And I have 2 kind of questions. The first is, do you think that without regulation can be a human-centric IoT? For example, European Artificial Intelligence Act. And the other thing is for Mrs. Frydenlund. It's about standard essential patents. In IoT, there is another patent pool that it's called SysBel, you know. For manufacturers, they have to go with Avanci and SysBel, or what is your opinion on that, its evolution of these kinds of patent pools? Thank you.
Can I start addressing the latest question? So, okay, thank you for the question. Yes, SysBel, and they have an office here in Barcelona. I know them very well. So SysBel is a traditional patent pool. They have a cellular patent pool for NB-IoT and LTM, two subsets of the 4G standard. They license sensors and smart meters with LTM technology, sensors for NB-IoT technology, IoT devices that mainly operate on or rely on a long battery lifetime. So SysBel has a great patent pool for those kind of products. Avanci is a different kind of company. We're not a patent pool. We are an open platform. We don't own any patents ourselves. We're a truly independent company that does not own any patents, and we're not controlled or owned by any of the licensors or patent owners or the implementers. So we're owned by our own company, and our mission is to simplify the sharing of technology. But you're mentioning two things. If you're a manufacturer of smart meters, for example, and I'll use that example because SysBel has the LTM smart meter license that you can take from them. Avanci has a smart meter program for LT Cat1 enabled smart meters with 43 patent owners participating currently, with one flat rate that is based on published on our website. And so if you, as a manufacturer, need a license, or you're manufacturing LTM smart meters, LT Cat1 smart meters, maybe smart meters with other type of technology, yes, you can either choose to license those patents directly from each licensor, or you can take an Avanci license for your LT Cat1 license or smart meters, and from SysBel on your LTM smart meters.
The first question I want to ask, to answer it, I think that the best scenario is a mix. It's a really mixing between legacy and private initiative. I think that we cannot let all the human centricity in the hands of companies, because this is the market rules at the end. I believe that laws should be there. We have seen in Spain, for example, that with the European laws, companies have started very hard to think about sustainability. Before they didn't do it. So laws should be there. Perhaps they will. Now they are publishing quite a lot of laws, perhaps too much. So at the end, it is a pendulum. I think that they are stopping, and they will go to a natural way. So at the end, I think a right mix would be the ideal scenario. I don't know.
Yeah, the mixture of regulations and then the private bringing solutions to help that. I'll give you an example. Fishing nets. The EU now has a circular economy regulation to ensure that fishing nets are properly recycled and not just left adrift, right? So I'm on the board of a company that has some IP around how do you embed sensors into synthetic rope and cable. And so we've been asked by the EU to come in and provide a solution such that they can track those nets such on there. So what I see is the regulations driving the sort of the end goal, but the method that you sort of get to that will be brought by private industry. In the case of industrial automation, which is ground zero for me, there's sort of two approaches. One is to take and try to replicate the wired aspect of it. And that's an interesting problem, and Wireless Hard and ISA 100 and all those standards sort of address that. But you haven't fundamentally changed the way you've done business. What IoT has introduced is the radio. So once you put a radio on the sensor, you don't have to necessarily go through the traditional layers of sensors, control systems, plant systems, then enterprise systems. You can go directly from the sensor to the enterprise. Now you've completely changed the paradigm of how you control and how you behave in your industrial setting. So there's a lot. So while the technology is interesting, the real challenge is how do I, as an organization, change behavior to take advantage of that technology?
Yep.
Okay, we have time for one more question. I think that here, yeah, maybe it's the last one. We have 3 minutes. Okay.
First of all, thank you very much for your participation in the panel. I'd like to frame, it's kind of a two-part question. I'd like to frame it, though, starting at the bottom up, really starting with the human as opposed to starting with the society. So the first one, and this is all directly related to openness and open source and open data. So the first one is, as open source software really displaces proprietary software, it reduces the marginal cost of innovation towards zero. So do you think that it's critical to sort of have openness as a first priority built in the same way that we have privacy and security at the software layer in order to accelerate the process of innovation, starting at the individual and small entrepreneurial as opposed to the larger organization? And then the second part of the question is the same thing, but having to do with the data, with open access, that individuals having the ability to access their own data, having the ability to access collective data that's appropriately anonymized, and then also, what about the federation of the storage of data as opposed to the centralized storage of data? So thank you very much.
Okay. You have 2 minutes, so if you want to answer.
Without question. So about 10 years ago, ExxonMobil came to me and said, we have a huge problem. We use proprietary industrial control systems called distributed control systems. It is too expensive, even for ExxonMobil, to replace their current systems and upgrade them. We need a different approach. And what they've landed on is to use open source for control. And if you know ExxonMobil, they'd probably be the last person you'd ever expect to use open source. And they've actually built their next generation of control systems under open source. And the idea is the competitive advantage is not in the tools that you use, but in how you use those tools. So I'm going to have open source, so it reduces the cost, complexity. It doesn't lock me into a single vendor. And where I'm going to differentiate myself is not on the proprietary software, but on how I operate my plant using that open source software. So there's been a huge step change of let's get innovation flowing, and then I'll differentiate my company by how I use it. So yeah, it definitely has changed.
Yep.
Okay, I don't know, Marianne, if you want to add some. Oh, okay. Okay, so we are out of time, but in the end, I want to congratulate our panelists, Elisabeth, Dave, and Marianne, and thank you, you for being here. Thank you.